Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Mazda Touring Cup for race 8 of 9 from Fuji Grand Prix circuit. That's the one with the chickens. Let's take a look at the current championship standings, shall we? Leading the way is Steve F1 on 124 points, 3 ahead of SGP. Demon R not too far behind in third. Then we've got Fluffy Planet battling with Mitch and Dave the Harp and Mandalorian for that elusive 4th place. Jason sits in 8th with Twilight 9th, Jimmy 10th, Rich Blues just ahead of Bunsell in 11th and 12th, Groover ahead of SRI, Formula Gary just ahead of Tyler, and Conrad rounding out the top 17 on 6 points. Okay, let's take a look at how qualifying resulted here at Fuji. Sitting on pole position is Steve F1. Next to him is Mandalorian. Very close with the lap times. On row 2 we've got SGP and Twilight, a brilliant qualifying for him. On row 3 we've got Conrad and Mitch. On row 4 we've got Dave the Harp, and he's alongside Demon R, probably the furthest down he's qualified for a few championships. On row 5 we've got Rich Blues, a brilliant qualifying for him alongside Fluffy Planet, and on row 6 we've got Groover and Formula Gary. Row 7 we'll see SRI starting alongside Jimmy, and unfortunately 2 or 3 drivers unable to make today's race. Okay, time to head over to the commentary team. And joining me on commentary today is James. James, do you reckon these guys have got a big hill to climb today?
Well, round Mount Fuji, I wouldn't be surprised.
So the drivers are ready then to attack this circuit. Steve F1 on pole position, Rich Blues on the spy cam, and the lights go out and away they go, and it looks like a decent start from Steve F1. Mandalorian holding on to second place at the moment as Steve F1 covers him off. He does not want to be attacked into turn 1.
SGP got a poor start. Oh, Mandalorian having a little look up the inside, but he's gone deep.
He has gone deep. Twilight sneaking through as well. Conrad and Mitch getting ever so close. Dave the Arp is burning tyres already, and that's what's going to happen when you go sideways.
Well, Conrad's having a look here on SGP as they're battling in the background. Steve F1 in second place. Mandalorian managed to recover himself into third, but Conrad's gone in front of SGP here, and that's not looking good for the title. SGP needs to not allow Steve F1 to pull away here.
Absolutely right. Demon R in the background as well, not even in top 8 at the moment. As Steve F1 has taken the lead of the race. Sneaky move into the left-hander there, but Twilight is fighting back. He's going to try and slip up the inside in towards the hairpin. Can't quite get the position on the run down the hill. Is Steve F1 going to cover it off? Oh, you know what? SGP was covering someone off there. It was Dave the Harp in the background. Steve F1 holds on to the lead. Conrad having a look at Twilight, but backs out of it.
Yeah, luckily just that brake pedal really he almost snapped it off there, because I think he was going to cream the back of Twilight, but there's a bit of a gap occurring here between Conrad and SGP now.
Yeah, there is. Conrad actually looking at attacking Twilight. Twilight's going to have to go defensive, which could really slow him down here, but Conrad holding on to the position at the moment. He's trying to get Twilight to defend again, which will really compromise his speed. You know what, I'm liking what Twilight's doing here. He's using as much of the road as possible, while Conrad is making him defend right behind his SGP. That onward, it's too soon to be fuel saving. Conrad attacking Twilight, but SGP cannot afford to let Steve F1 run away here.
No, and Demon R, he's also in the title fight, but he's not even in the top 8 right now. Hopefully he can try and fight his way back through to the front, but yeah, I think if he doesn't get the win today, Demon R, that could be championship title hopes over almost.
Oh, Conrad, big error there. I think Steve F1 just about saw him coming at the last moment. Conrad being a bit of a torpedo there. So yeah, Steve F1 was lucky not to get absolutely annihilated. Conrad knows he made a bit of a boo-boo. That's let Twilight take the lead, as Mandalorian now trying to make his way past Conrad. Mandalorian has actually made his way past SGP as well, as when Conrad was making his little diving attempt down into turn 1. Fluffy Planet all over the back of Conrad now as well. Connor is really going to have to be careful. Dave the Arp chucking up the inside of SGP. SGP sees it coming, but he's going to have the inside line for the long right-hander.
Yeah, Dave the Arp there trying to take the tight inside line. Unfortunately, that just compromises speed. Fluffy's got a decent run here on him.
Yep, although the drivers are going to have to wait a whole lap to get to the long right-hander because they'd already gone past it. I completely lost where they were on the track then. Okay, Davey Harper's been passed by Fluffy. I was not looking at that, to be honest. Twilight leading the way. Demon are now into the top 8. Davey Harper attacking Fluffy. I will mention as well, Rich Blues, I believe, was taken out by Gary at the end of the first lap, and you'll have been able to spot that on the spy cam in the bottom right corner, as Rich Blues was the pre-selected victim for the spy cam this week.
Yeah, Twilight really did get lucky with that little dive bomb there from Conrad, just give him the lead of the race. But right now I think Steve F1's going to try and regain the lead here.
Oh, he's definitely within range. See, now this is a situation where if Steve F1 does not go for it, we would potentially say that he's fuel saving, but he's going for it, which would suggest he isn't fuel saving. He's definitely not fuel saving. He is going for the attack. Steve F1 recently has been doing a couple of one-stop races. I've got a feeling he's not going to be doing that here today, but a one-stop is definitely possible, as Steve F1 is later on the brakes and makes the move into turn 1.
Yeah, so really right now, where is Demon Eye? Still not within the top 8. We were hoping to see him fight his way through the field. Well, that's what we were predicting really, but I'm just wondering whether it's just not his day today.
I think you might be right. I think he's battling with Mitch at the moment for the 8th place. I just saw him pop onto the timing tower. Twilight coming under a bit of pressure now from Mandalorian. He may need to defend here as Mandalorian has a look up the inside. Can't quite see if he's got it worked. No, he hasn't. He's got himself a little bit out of shape. Just going to put SGP all over the back of him on the run down towards the hairpin. Yeah, it is. SGP is really close, and Fluffy Planet, David Harp, Conrad and Demon R. Demon R's in the battle. Look, he's got Mitch, Gary and Rich Blues. Is that Rich Blues, I think, there? Sorry, go on.
Can't really tell with that camera angle. That is an awful camera angle.
Ooh, yeah, there he is.
Demon R's spun. I think he may have got tagged there from behind. I'm not too sure which driver it was, but it looked like just under braking there, the nearest of taps. Demon R goes spinning around like Kylie Minogue.
Oh yeah, except nowhere near as sexy. Demon R has definitely never won Rear of the Year, that's for certain. Okay, Steve F1 leading the way. Twilight though is within range to attack. Fluffy's just ran a little bit wide out the final corner. That's going to allow Dave the Arp a decent run on him, but we're having a look at Mitch here as Rich is actually closing in. So even though Rich and Gary had an incident on the first lap, they're back in this race fighting for 8th place.
Yeah, Steve F1 out in the lead, keeps going towards the pit lane, tempting people as if he's going to dive into the pit lane. Are we expecting him to jump into the pits anytime soon?
It'd be very early, although I am hearing that Demon R has actually dived into the pits, which would suggest this race is definitely not going his way. Is that Fluffy making the move on SGP? Yes, it is, or trying to at least.
Yeah, Dave the Art's going to have the initiative here. I think just took the speed round the outside, and now that's the inside for turn 2.
Yeah, nice move there from Dave, and nice driving from Fluffy to spot him coming. But here comes Conrad as well, trying to capitalise on that as well. And that's one of the things with these cars, James, as we've seen. Sometimes you get yourself a little bit out of position, and you can get absolutely swamped, because Fluffy, he's been passed by Conrad, and now he's under pressure from Mitch.
Yeah, if you get off that racing line where all the rubber's laid, you can just find yourself slipping backwards, even if you feel like you took decent speed through a corner, as Gary there is getting bumping along with Rich and Mitch, and yeah, here comes SRI up the inside.
Oh, Mitch taking out Fluffy. I think that may be 2 in 2 corners for Mitch, and it looks like Mitch is aware. Yeah, he's aware that he's wiped Fluffy out on that one, so he is waiting for him. But Rich is now capitalising against his main rival SRI. So Rich and Gary have done well to actually work their way back through into this race, up to 8th place at the moment. SRI is going to have to be careful of Groover sneaking around or lurking behind him, as SRI is really trying to attack Rich. But I mean, SRI and Rich have been rivals for a few championships now, but Groover, you can't see it, he's trying to sneak up the inside of SRI.
Yeah, no, this is for the lead of the race, the top 3. Twilight very close with Mandalorian, and I think Steve F1 once again tempting people towards the pit lane there. I don't know if that's just his normal line, or if he's just trying to break a bit of slipstream. I don't quite know what he's doing, but SGP in 4th place is not getting tempted by it. He keeps sticking to the racing line.
Yeah, obviously he's got his own plan here today as Dave the Arm just had a little bit of a lock up there. Conrod's running wide though, he's going to have to be careful running out there. We know it's dangerous out there, it's really dangerous out there. You do not want to be on there. To be fair though, you're probably better on the grass there than the AstroTurf.
Yeah, definitely, but yeah, it just showed you there. It's one of them situations where you just want to get off throttle. Yeah. It's quicker than keeping your foot in, because keeping your foot in, you're spending more time on that grass going pretty much half speed. But Rich now all over the back. It's that, yeah, it's Gary. So is he going to go for the inside? No. He almost slots in behind, but then realises SRI's there.
Yeah, and not only that, Groover is about to try and sneak up his left side as well. No, he can't quite do it. So Rich and SRI going wheel to wheel, door to door. No, they're not. Bloody hell. Here comes Groover. Rich sees him, covers him off, but then decides to go, you know what, I'm going to go for Gary's slipstream and the racing line as SRI. That's the wrong way. It's the dear.
Where's it going?
That is a definite advert for do not drink and drive, folks. You'll go the wrong way. That is just, I think that has just freed up Rich. Looking up at the lead though, Steve F1 still leading from Twilight. Twilight's having an absolute storming race here. Mandalorian sitting in third place, SGP sitting in fourth. I think SGP's just biding his time at the moment. Steve F1, is he going to go for that line over towards the pit lane on this occasion? Yes, he does. He's actually going for the pits, is he? Yes,
yeah,
he is.
He's in the pit lane.
You know, I think he was dummying it the previous times so that when he made that move, people would think he's not going for the pits and wouldn't be able to respond. So David Harp into the pits as well. That means Twilight retakes the lead of this race and Mandalorian sitting in second place and SGP sitting in third. SGP would have been far enough behind there, James, to have reacted to Steve F1.
Yeah, but he's sticking with his guns, and Steve F1's coming out of the pit lane right in front of Demon R.
And Demon R has pitted already, so that's kind of brought Demon R into this race a little bit, depending on what he can do with his fuel, because I mentioned a few moments ago that he'd already pitted, and we both said that he wasn't having a very good race, but now he's all over the net leader.
He's up the inside. Can he try it up the inside of the very long right-hander?
He definitely can. Give it a go. Steve F1 is going to fight it back. Not quite.
Yeah, so right now that's looking decent for Demon now. That's what he needed before they hit traffic. He's got himself in front. So right now this could be the fight back now for Demon R.
But not only that, this could be good for the likes of Twilight, Mandalorian and SGP, because if there was ever a driver they would want Steve F1 to have come out behind or in front of, it'd have been Demon R, because if anyone's got a chance of holding Steve F1 up, it's probably Demon R. So Steve F1 may not get the undercut that he was expecting to get.
Yeah, SGP, I wonder what he's thinking now. Does he think I better jump in the pit lane and cover him off, or is he going to keep sticking with his guns here, with his strategy? Well,
if he goes into the pits, we know he's covering him off. If he doesn't, we know he's doing something completely different. Groover all over the back of Rich as Mandalorian is getting closer to the back of Twilight. SGP does not pit, so he is not concerned with what Steve F1 is doing. Mandalorian closing that gap. Is he going to get his bounty? He's going to try. Personally, I prefer a Twix. Actually, I don't. I prefer bounty.
Ooh, rear end just slightly sliding there. That might give Twilight a run down towards turn 2.
It does. Mandalorian is aware of it though, covering it off a little bit. Turn 2's not an easy corner to overtake on though. You're not really coming from behind to make that overtake. You've got to be up alongside on the approach to it. But Twilight really close to the back of Mandalorian. This is absolutely brilliant stuff from the both of these at the moment. Just looking at it, Demon R is now into 8th place, which means Steve F1 is currently 9th, which means that these leading cars will be probably aware of just about where Steve F1. Oh my goodness me, that's Rich. That's Rich. He's going deep. He's losing positions there to Formula Gary. But I was going to say, look, Demon R and Steve F1 are right in the middle of all of this.
Yeah, the one thing that Demon R and Steve F1 do not need is to get held up within this pack. They need to fight their way through. There's only another 2 cars to get past, which is Groover and Gary.
Yeah, that there is. Oh, Steve F1
up the inside.
Yeah, that he is making the move, and right behind him, SRI and Rich battling away. Demon R now trying to make a move on Fluffy. Steve F1 seems to have backed out of it. Yes, he has. So Demon R making the move on Fluffy, then just about slots through. You know what? I'm sure Fluffy was behind those two a moment ago. He's actually now coming back. He's ahead. Steve F1 chucking it over the inside. We're going to go 3 wides. A little bit of contact, but they won't mind that. And here comes the Scotsman having a look up the inside of Steve F1. Steve F1 will not want this at all.
No, this is getting frantic now. Steve F1 and Demon R, they need to find their way through the field, because right now people like SRI, yeah, they're fast right now, but it's just halting their strategy and pulling away.
Yeah, definitely. SGP, Conrad sitting 3rd and 4th, and then we've got Formula Gary, little bit of a gap to Groover, and then we've got this going on. Holy cow. Yeah, good luck. Oh, Demon R pulls out from behind Fluffy. SRI sticks in his slipstream. Somehow Steve F1 has ended up about 5 cars behind Demon R, but Dave the Op, is he running wide? No, Fluffy's a little bit sideways. Has everybody got through that corner? Holy crap, I think they have.
Yeah, Mitch and Rich giving each other a bit of a door banging as Dave the App, and SRI and Fluffy. I think, this is one of them corners where you do not want to go in tight up on the left hand side, and I think that's just impacted on the side of Demon R. Demon R's trying his tooth and nail to get past these guys, but Fluffy's just tapped him.
I think Demon R's gone wide. Fluffy's gone wide as well. Demon R, is he out of control? He's sideways. He's drifting. He's not meant to do that in a race.
Yeah, them rear tyres will be absolutely cooked. The best thing now for Demon R is to pit, because even though he's done really, really well to be up with Steve F1, his tyres now, especially his rears, will be absolutely overheating massively.
Yeah, that they will. Okay, SRI now leading this pack as Steve F1 making a move past Dave the Harp. Mitch right there as well, and let's not forget, I think Mitch has pitted, and so has Fluffy, and so has Dave the Harp, so they are effectively in the battle for the net lead as well. But this is all costing Steve F1 time. He was the race leader, and I don't think he's gaining on Mandalorian at the moment.
Mandalorian heading down the straight, leading the race right now. He's got Twilight behind him in 2nd place.
He's going for the pits. We didn't like that cameraman.
Right, so SGP close enough to have a little running, I think, in towards turn 1. It'd be a late move, but I think he is closing.
You know what? I think he is as well. I mean, we're 15 minutes into this race, so Mandalorian looks like he's nailed on for a 2-stop strategy here. Twilight and SGP going beyond, though, would suggest to me they may be trying to do a 1-stop here, but this is the closest that SGP has been to Twilight for the whole of this race.
Yeah, so right now, SGP has clearly been doing some fuel saving to try and do this 1-stop strategy, but has it cost him too much, or we're only going to find out after he pits? But
yeah,
I think that the key thing for SGP is when you do the 1-stop, you've got to come out of the pit lane and nail every single overtake and get past as many people as you can. You cannot spend time held up behind other people like Steve F1 and Demon R.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the timing tower, Demon R up alongside Rich Blues. I was going to say, looking at the timing tower, Steve F1 is now in 4th place, David Harp in 5th, and Demon R now into 6th. David Harp in 5th, Demon R 6th, and Rich, I have no idea what I've just said. I feel like I've just said Dick R is 6th, but I really don't know. So, yeah, but it's one of those things. The 1-stop could work for these guys if they know what Steve F1 has just had to go through, because Steve F1 might have to go through it again. Yeah, indeed.
But the only difference is if SGP or Twilight try and do a 1-stop, if they pit and then come out behind the other guys, they've got 20 minutes to go. They've got to make sure them tyres get to the end.
SGP going to the pits. He's not getting to the end from there. No, he's got a lot of fuel left, but I don't think he's getting to the end from there.
Yeah, but I think the thing for me is if SGP right now, if he tries and if he gets held up in the pack, his tyres might not last. I think that's the thing for me is that Davey App now having a look on Steve F1 it was turn 1.
That he is, Dave, either by choice or no, but that's by accident taking that wide line. David, he hates that curb. We all know about conversation curb. It's a race maker, let's put it that way, or race maker or race breaker, one of the two.
Indeed. So Mandalorian, after pitting right now, he's sat in 7th place, and that's only 4 positions behind Dave the Ark who we're looking at. So,
well, the interesting thing there, right, James, is that okay, Steve F1 is just ahead of Dave the Harp. So you could say, well, Steve F1 he's still got the undercut over Mandalorian, but the amount of laps that Steve F1 has just done, he should be miles ahead of Mandalorian at the moment.
Exactly. I think that's the thing where, with him getting stuck, his tyres right now will not have half as much grip as what Mandalorian's got. I think, Steve F1 pitted, I think, around lap 5.
It was around there. It was about 10 minutes in, I think, something like that.
Whereas Mandalorian pitted around lap 8, so he's got 3 lap fresher tyres, and he's only technically about 4 seconds behind him.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Fluffy's getting ever so close to the back of Dave the Harp there as Twilight race leader. Is he going to be heading into the pits? It looks like he may be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
but he's got a decent gap, but still, it's going to come to nothing when he comes out behind everybody.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing there is I don't think it's quite close enough to midway to do a one-stop here. He may have to pit again later on. SGP, there's no way he's getting to the end of the race unless he does a massive amount of fuel saving without stopping again. Steve F1 though leading the way. Demon R now in 2nd place. Fluffy closing in on Dave the Harp. This is the battle for 3rd place. Dave the Harp goes defensive. Fluffy on the racing line, bangs those brakes on as Mandalorian in the background is having a look at Mitch, and he's trying to make the move and makes the move. Didn't get to see it, but that's because Fluffy's got a nicer looking car.
Yeah, so here we go. Fluffy, can he try?
Even he thinks he's got a nicer looking car.
Yeah. He's up the inside, but he's going to have to brake early there. That's going to make him run wide, and that could just allow Dave the Arp a few meters to pull away. But yeah, all that sliding is not going to help them tyres for Fluffy.
Definitely not. Mandalorian taking a nice wide exit out of that long right-hander. Fluffy though is really closed in on Dave the Arp in the braking zone. Mandalorian trying to close in as well as Conrad coming under pressure. No, he's not coming under pressure. Conrad has recently made a move on Mitch, and Mitch is now right behind him. But we are just about halfway through here in Fuji. We've definitely got different strategies going on. We've definitely got different things going on with the cameras as well. There's some crazy helicopter pilot flying behind that Mandalorian. Either that or he's got a drone following him.
I don't know what happened with the camera there.
You know what? I have no idea what actually happened on the track. I was looking at the camera instead.
I think Fluffy tagged the back of Dave the Arp and then pretty much came to a halt right on the racing line in front of Mandalorian, and then Mandalorian had to try and take a base in and managed just about to get past them.
Mandalorian going for the move on Dave the Arp, but he's going to run wide. He's going to lose time on the exit of the corner. Dave the Arp's going to hold on to that position. I must admit, you know, James, I am absolutely fascinated the fact that Demon R has managed to hold on to the back of Steve F1 and really brought himself back into this race. SGP though now in 11th place, and he's got the traffic to deal with. That Steve F1, no, he's not. He's into the pits. What on earth is going on there?
Right, I've got a clue here. I think I might understand what he's doing. He's pretty much decided, right, from this point I know I can get to the end, so I'm going to pit now. Oh, as Conrad and Mandalorian go side by side through turn 1. Conrad's slightly on the AstroTurf on the exit. Yeah, but he's got a really good run here, Conrad.
He has. I think Mando's just far enough ahead though to hold on to the position. So yeah, James, you were saying about you think he can get to the end from here?
Yeah, I think SGP kind of thinks right now if he puts it in lean now while he's following everybody, by the time they all pit, he'll be a mile down the road. So this could be the winning ticket for SGP.
You know what? You could be absolutely right, because his battle isn't with the 8, 9 or 10 cars between Steve F1 and himself. His battle is with Steve F1 as Mandalorian and Conrad going side by side down the hill towards the hairpin. I must admit, I kind of love and hate this triple chicane, but I like the 90-degree right-hander that you can have there instead. But this does create a kind of almost turkey-esque final couple of corners, as Conrad's showing here, going for a bit of a switchback. But now Mandalorian could have the inside line. No, he's had to tuck him behind as Fluffy closes in as well. This is absolutely brilliant stuff.
Lovely bit of racing there from Conrad. Absolutely fantastic.
Mandalorian trying to put a bit of pressure on and trying to take a different line through the penultimate corner. Conrad kind of leaving the door open yeah, you know exactly what I meant. Demonar all over the back of Steve F1.
Yeah, Steve F1, right now, what do you think is going through his head? Because he knows that they've both got to pit again. SGP's already pitted. Here we go, Steve F1 trying to cover off SGP straight away.
Well, interestingly, Steve F1 has basically done 10 minutes, 12 minutes, but now he's going to need to do 18 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Has he done enough practice trying to do a one stop? Does he think it's comfortable?
Well, the thing is, if SGP could do a one stop from 20 minutes, Steve F1 can definitely do one from 22 minutes.
Yeah. So Mandalorian and Conrad once again side by side through turn 1, and Mandalorian's back in front, but Conrad's got a lot of pace today.
That he is, and I see SGP is in the background as well there, just kind of slotted in, so I think he is ahead of Steve F1 as Conrad making the move on Mandalorian in a long right-hander. I was almost sleeping as much as Mando was then.
Yeah, it's one of them situations though where I think Mandalorian's kind of thinking, is it worth fighting Conrad? Because he knows he ain't fighting Conrad, but technically he is on track. But is it worth it when he knows he's got another pit stop to do? It's just a matter of time before he does his pit stop. He did 15 minutes at the start, and here is SGP and Twilight.
Yeah, well, this is fascinating, James, because Twilight, I think he's going to have another pit stop to do, but SGP's not really, he's not attacking him, is he? Because he knows that Steve F1 is behind him, and that's what he needs. I was surprised in a way that Demonar didn't follow Steve F1 in, but having said that, we've seen that Demonar's struggled with his fuel in the last couple of races, so maybe he's just thinking, you know what, no messing, make sure you've got enough fuel. SGP, though, is definitely going tactical here to be positioned ahead of Steve F1 in this final stint, because the way the championship's sitting at the moment, as Demonar looks like he's heading into the pits, the way the championship has been sitting at the moment is SGP needs to finish ahead of Steve F1.
Yeah, but it's one of them situations where for SGP is thinking, do I save fuel? Do I push? What do I do right now? Well, I think he's in that tricky situation.
He is. I mean, he's got Rich Blues right behind him, so you can have a close-up view of the rear of SGP's car on the spy cam. I think. Rich, he's going for the overtake, is he? Or at least he's having a look. I mean, SGP, he's coming under a little bit of pressure. But this is, it is a fascinating situation, because you mentioned just before Steve F1 pitted what would be going through his mind, and probably what was going through his mind would have been, right, Demonar, either overtake me so I can save fuel behind you, or bugger off and leave me alone. And neither was happening. For SGP, it's a similar situation now. If he is pushed too hard, his tyres won't last, his fuel won't last. But if he can control himself now and not worry until Steve F1 suddenly appears behind him, and he hasn't done yet, he'll be alright. Groover, though, he's all over the back of his so-called mate Fluffy. I'm going to wait for a bit of contact down in this chicane.
Yeah, Groover trying the outside line, which is the longer way around the corner, but if you get it done, it gives you the inside for the next corner, and here we go. He's got a little bit of a nose in there, so Fluffy's got to give him room. And but running up the hill, Fluffy, superior traction. Here comes Gary out of nowhere. Yeah,
Gary was able to. I think there's a bit of contact between Gary and Groove there. I don't think Groover realised got a bit more contact, and SGP's nearly caught up in that as well. I think Gary was definitely making a bit of contact with Groover. Difficult to say exactly what happened there, but yeah, this is so SGP is now coming under pressure. And look, there is Steve F1 right behind Twilight.
And that collision with Groover, that was crucial for SGP. If he'd have got caught up in that, that'd have been it. He'd have been miles behind. But luckily, just managed to avoid that little bit of contact between two other rivals. But there we go. Is that Conrad leading the race?
It is, as Fluffy Planet in second place is heading into the pits. So SGP is now in second place, right behind Conrad, and bloody Rich Blues is sitting in third place, just ahead of Dave the Ark. Has Rich Blues got enough fuel to get to the end?
I don't think so. I think Dave the Ark and Rich got another pit stop to come, but Dave the Ark's having a look at the inside, but we're not seeing it right now.
Oh, there we go.
So on the run down towards turn 2, I think Rich's might have the inside, but if Dave the Ark can get far enough ahead, he could brake slightly later. We'll have to see who's going to come out on top. Here we go.
You know what? I like that from Rich. In the past, we'd have seen him back out of that. Not on this occasion. I like that. That's a sign for me of a driver getting more confident. And who's this?
Steve F1 absolutely shoving it up the inside of Dave the Ark.
Oh,
and
tight
trying to put
fit.
Dave the Arp off. Which, to be fair, Dave the Arp's held on to that quite nicely.
Is he holding on to Steve F1 quite nicely, or is it Rich is holding on to? I don't even want to go there. But yeah, you're absolutely right, James. Even if you're not going to laugh at my bad jokes.
Sorry, I didn't even realise there were jokes. Rich and Twilight running wide, and that's just holding up Steve F1 here.
Oh, and here comes Mitch coming in quickly behind Groover as well. I mean, that's one of the things with the nature of this track. I mean, we've talked about it before. You get side by side with people, it slows you down, blah blah blah. But this is one of those tracks where it can have a massive. I mean, if you're coming through that triple chicane at normal speed and there's multiple cars battling in front of you, you will catch them rapidly. Steve F1 going for the inside line into the final corner. We're not going to watch that though, because for some reason we're going to watch Conrad head into the pit lane. We don't really need to see that, but he is the current race leader, so he goes into the pits, and now SGP is the race leader with Dave the Harp sitting in second place. Steve F1, who did he make the move on there? I think it was Twilight.
But yeah, no, to be fair, right now SGP, even though he pitted a little bit earlier, he's not far enough down the road, I don't think, to really feel comfortable. There he is, just heading into turn 1, and look, Steve F1's not too far away. And Dave the App and Mandalorian are having a little battle in the background.
Yeah, so is Demon R and Mandalorian, because Dave the Arp's right behind SGP. But yeah, but no, I think SGP may, if he saved enough fuel earlier on, he'll be. I think he may be safe, because these guys have got to push. They've got to push to get away from the cars that they're near.
Oh, Steve F1 running wide. That will not help his tyres, as Mitch and Twilight in the background are really pushing. And here comes Rich.
Rich is trying to show Steve F1 that he's too slow, mate. Come on, Steve, speed up.
Well, this is it. I think Steve F1 right now is thinking, just leave me alone. I need to try and focus on catching SGP.
Yeah.
I do not really want to be looking in my mirrors, but here comes, I think, Mandalorian behind this pack, and Demon R's not too far away either.
Yeah, Mandalorian having a look up the inside of Mitch and Rich. Is Twilight going to see him coming? Mitch has seen him coming. That was close. That could have been absolutely disastrous. That's a new word. Absolutely. So Mandalorian having another look up the inside. Mitch sees him coming again, but it's not a faster line going up the inside as Mitch is showing. Is Mitch going to defend though? No, he's kind of wanting to attack Twilight, but he can't because Mandalorian's there. Mandalorian squeezes through, but I've got a feeling if Mandalorian doesn't cover that inside line in the final corner, Mitch may be coming.
Yeah, I think the thing there were, Mitch were more focused on the guy in front and really not taking into consideration how close Mandalorian really was. He needed to shut that door right in his face, and he didn't do it.
Absolutely right.
Dave the Out in the pit.
Yeah, and Dave the Ops actually still got carrying quite a bit of fuel, but that'll mean he's going to have a very short pit stop here. So situation then, we've got SGP leading the way, bit of a gap to Steve F1, Twilight in third place. Brilliant stuff from Twilight. Can he get to the end? I bloody hope so. Mitch in fifth place, because Mandalorian's in fourth place. Mandalorian should have more than enough fuel to get to the end.
Twilight's run wide in turn 1. Twilight's just completely run wide, and he's putting the pressure now in towards turn 2.
That he is. Twilight holding on to the position, and that's going to allow Mitch to close in as Rich is still coming under pressure from his rival SRI. And interestingly, Demon R is stuck at the back. He's just keeps looking at SRI's arse.
Oh, and Mandalorian up the inside of Twilight, and it's all about carrying the speed, and I think he's just about managed to carry enough speed as SRI in the background slapping, I think it was Rich.
He does. We've got a Scotsman smacking the white Jamaican. Demon R trying to get involved in that as well, following SRI towards the chicane. That should give Demon R an opportunity to attack, but no, Rich covers him off. That's nicely done. That's going to compromise Demon R though. He has a bit of a wiggle. Rich covering the inside line, well, covering and attacking both at the same time as we're having a look at Jimmy. I'm guessing something is about to happen with Jimmy as Conrad ran a little bit wide, but now Conrad is up the inside of Demon R. So Demon R dropping places. There we go, Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy Mac, when are you coming back? He's already gone.
Fluffy hopes he's not coming back, I think. But yeah, Demon out the inside of Rich there, taking the tight line, which I've got to say, it's one of them where he does entice you up the inside, and it's worth having a go, even though it's slow. It's a slower exit. If you can potentially put somebody off in the final corner, I think it's worth doing.
I'd say it's only worth doing if you're within a close enough range to go for it. SGP though leading the way. Is he going to have to save more fuel? How long have we got? 8 minutes to go. Steve F1 sitting in second place. The Mandalorian sitting in third place. The gap between first and second is about 3. First and second is about 3 to 4 seconds. Twilight sitting in fourth. Good race for him. I'm impressed.
Yeah, Mitch sitting in fifth place, as it sounds like you've got a frog in your throat.
Yeah, I've got something.
But yeah, Demon Art right now, I think he's going to be foaming sitting in 8th place. It's really not going his way today.
Bugger off, Kermit.
don't sound like it's going your way.
And it's not. You know what, I think we may be seeing for the first time Demon R being out of the championship fight. SGP though doing everything he needs to do to take the fight to Steve F1 into the last race of the championship. Mandalorian is still there, but I mean Conrad is still in this fight. He's battling with Demon R.
It's gone deep, really gone deep there. That's just allowed Demon Art. I'll have a look around the outside, which will now become the inside as they run up the hill. So that's Davey Arp. He's got fresh rubber on, so yeah, he's going to be attacking as well.
That he is. I mean, fresh rubber around this particular circuit can be a massive benefit. I mean, I don't know if anybody has not been changing tyres throughout this race, but I do know there is a big deficit between old tyres and new tyres. Mitch all over the back of Twilight. As much as I've enjoyed watching Mitch racing recently, I really don't want him to overtake Twilight here, because I think Twilight deserves a top 3 finish.
Well, we'll see. On the run, as Demon R looks to be eyeing up Conrad in the background, but here we go, Mitch going for the inside, Twilight sticking to the racing line. So Twilight's going to have to hope that either Mitch runs wide here, but if he doesn't, he needs to try it around the outside, and that's what he's trying to do now.
Ooh.
It's too late there for Twilight as Davey Arp. I think he's completely missed the apex of turn 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Mitch just squeezed Twilight a little bit too wide there on the exit of turn 1. I mean, it is one of the things that we say, or the DGT League admin says, leave space at all times if you can. Obviously, only in fair situations. But yeah, if someone gives you space at the apex, give them space on the exit. So we don't want to be seeing people squeezing each other off the racetrack. And really, to be honest, you don't want to be seeing any of these guys getting squeezed anywhere. They're all chunky monkeys that you do not want to see in latex.
SGP, do you think he's got a big enough gap over Steve F1 in second place?
You know what, I would say I do, but I've got no interest in getting married. The gap has definitely come down, but if he's managing the gap, I think he's okay, because yes, you can overtake here, but it's not dead easy. All SGP needs to do is make sure he's 8/10 of a second ahead on the exit of the final corner. If he's 8/10 of a second ahead, Steve F1 can't attack him into turn 1. If he can't attack him into turn 1, he's probably not going to be able to attack him into the rest of the track.
Right, so Conrad once again right in front of Demon R. Demon R cannot seem to shift Conrad out of the way. SRI sat behind Twilight, so Twilight and Mitch, even though Mitch got in front, they're falling back right now. I think the problem is that Twilight's been overtaken by Mitch, but possibly could have been holding up a bit, as SRI is now taking the opportunity right up the inside.
He's not getting that stopped.
Oh no, sliding wide onto that AstroTurf.
Oh, and in the background as well, I don't know if there was a bit of contact, but I saw that Davey Arp had pulled out to overtake someone. Fluffy was looking at him. I think it all got a little bit messy there, but yeah, SRI clearly missed his braking point on that one. That allows Twilight and Mitch to continue their battle. Fluffy and Conrad are just ahead of Dave the Harp, I believe, slightly behind this battle. It is all kicking off a bit, but Mitch trying to have a look at Twilight, and now he's going to have a look up the inside.
Yeah, so really
he's done it,
changing here, but yeah, he's managed to do it. But has he carried the speed over them sleeping policemen? That's the crucial thing. But yeah, Mandalorian, he is close behind Steve F1, but I think he needs to try and make a move. But yeah, I think Steve F1's focusing more on his mirrors, and that's not what he needs for the title fight. He needs to really just be focusing on SGP.
Yeah, well, then there is the catch-22 situation. If Mandalorian is quick at the moment, does he let him go to go and catch SGP to slow SGP down? It's an interesting scenario, but yeah, I mean, Mandalorian has got close enough to Steve F1 that I think it has compromised Steve F1's overall lap times at the moment, and SGP once again is able to manage that gap. Mitch still holding on to 4th place at the moment, looking at the timing tower, and I wouldn't be surprised if on the spy cam you'll be able to see plenty of action around Rich Blues at the moment. Steve F1 definitely not close enough to SGP to attack, but Mandalorian may be within fighting distance of Steve F1 by the time they get to the end of the straight. In the background though, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like a 2-second gap between SGP and Steve F1 as we're looking now at Steve F1, and he's got Mandalorian having a little look under braking. He just managed to slow it down enough, leaving room on the exit, and I think he's just about got himself in front of Steve F1, so that's not great for Steve F1, but is there enough time for Mandalorian to try and catch SGP?
There may be. I was just having a look in the background there. It's definitely getting busy for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and beyond. And I think somebody has pitted. I think Demon R has made an oddly very late pit stop. I think his race has just gone so bad to worst. He thought, you know, I'm going to pop in and have a coffee. SRI, who's he battling with? Is Twilight and Conrad. This is absolutely mental. I think Demon R's just decided, you know what, I'm going to stay out of this battle.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, with the guys this close, what we usually see is one person makes a mistake and they all pile in there and go flying. So this might not be a bad shout pitting near the end of the race with Demon R.
Yeah, Mitch going defensive on SRI, but SRI trying to slot up the inside. Twilight got a nudge from Conrad, I think it was. That's Twilight off, and now they all get close. So pretty much exactly what you were saying, James.
I think SRI really shoved it too far up the inside and made the corner so acute that he couldn't actually turn the car enough to avoid contact there.
I think SRI actually is backed out of all of that and let everybody through as well, but it has allowed Demon R to catch right back up to everybody. So he was trying to get away from the battle and he's ended up right back in it again. Conrad though, I'm sure I saw the front of Conrad. Oh yeah, go on.
The front three very, very close. Even Steve F1's closed in to SGP compared to previous times with Mandalorian. Really is on the charge now down towards turn 1. Yeah,
Conrad attacking Mitch as well. You know what, I think if SGP had have made a mistake, would have seen it on the camera. Holy cow. Good luck. Mitch and Conrad battling.
Oh no, it's somebody else.
It's Rich.
It's Rich. Yeah, Rich on the grass, but Demon R having a look on the inside of everybody here.
It'd be absolutely ridiculous to try and go for that move, and he hasn't gone for that move. Twilight! Oh, he was carrying so much speed there. You know, I think he may have been nudged into that one. But yeah, I was saying that SGP, if he'd have made a mistake, would have seen it. I think he was just massively saving fuel, you know, and that's allowed Mandalorian to really close in on him, and the battle is on.
Yeah, SGP covering Mandalorian off there from shoving it up the inside, but as that compromises speed on the exit.
It could well have done as they make their way on the run down towards the triple chicane, the triple hairpin chicane.
On the last lap.
That we are, you're right, James, we are. So we've got the battle for the lead. 3 cars battling away. SGP holding on for all of his might at the moment. Mandalorian sneaking it up the inside. SGP a little bit sideways. He won't be too happy about that one. But now Steve F1 comes sliding up the inside of Mandalorian. As much as SGP might not be happy about Mandalorian having a go there, he'd rather Mandalorian be ahead of Steve F1. But as they make their way into the penultimate corner, Mandalorian has a bit of a twitch, runs wide. Here comes Steve F1 to attack on Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian there, just having a little look up in the final corner.
There's a bit of contact, and both the Steves off the track. Mandalorian leading the race, is he? I don't know. There's contact between SGP and Mandalorian. Steve F1 is right on Mandalorian's rear bumper. Who's leading? Mandalorian is ahead. SGP, he's dropping. He's down to 3rd. There's Mandalorian, Steve F1, SGP across the line. Holy cow. Conrad's going to take 4th place. Mitch is going to take 5th. Dave the Harp's going to finish 6th. Demon R 7th. His pit stop worked for him, and Rich and Mitch. No, Rich and Fluffy. Rich finishes just ahead of Fluffy, and then we've got everybody else. A few cars going a little bit slow there. I don't know if there was carnage or fuel.
Yeah, Twilight there, just coming over the line. He should have really done a hell of a lot better today, but unfortunately he had that little bit of contact on the penultimate lap, and it's just ended in disaster for him. But massive change there at the end, I think. So Steve F1's managed just to pip SGP to the post there on the very last lap on the run down to the finish line.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of a talking point though about the final corner there. But I do want to just quickly mention that I am hearing that at turn 1 there was a little bit of contact from one driver onto the back of Twilight, and it was only the tiniest of contact, but it resulted in absolute carnage. It's kind of like the analogy I've been told is that a butterfly flapped its wings near where James lives, and in Fuji there was a tsunami. So yeah, absolute disaster there for Twilight, because I mean, to be fair, he was leading the race at times. He was in the top 3 for most of the race.
He should really, worst case scenario, Twilight there should have finished 5th. He were definitely nailed on for 4th, fighting Mitch tooth and nail near the end there, and yeah, to see him finish right at the back there, that were pretty crap to see there. But yeah, what has this done really now to the title fight between SGP and Steve F1?
Well, before we get on to that, what happened to Demon? Has Demon R just cracked? Has he crumbled? Is he done? Should he retire?
I don't think he should retire. I think
I don't know, the others might disagree.
But it could possibly be that thought of, well, I've got to win today or I'm out of it. And unfortunately, he didn't have the greatest qualifying. And I think just stuck in that midfield, could not really break through. He had a moment where he was leading the race with Steve F1 about halfway, but then once again after pitting for the second time, just did not manage to break his way through the field, and if anything, he was getting swamped by a few people. Yeah,
I mean, when you look at it, he was there with Steve F1 and Mandalorian after the final round of pit stops. He just didn't get through like the others did. He could have been there fighting for the victory and could have still been in the fight, but it's not to be. The only way I think he's going to win the championship now is if SGP and Steve F1 do not finish the next race and Demon R wins, and I can't see that happening. Okay, what has that done for the championship though? It's made a big difference, because SGP was headed into the final corner in the lead of the race, about to take the lead of the championship off Steve F1, but by the time he gets to the finish line, he's in 3rd place, Steve F1's in 2nd place, and he's extended the lead by, I think it's 2 or 3 points over SGP, so the fight is still on between those two into the last race of the championship, which is at the Dragon Trail Gardens, a track DGT League has never done a competitive race on, a track that it would appear Steve F1 is not a massive fan of, but SGP loves. But that means nothing. Anything could happen at that track. In many respects, I think for every one of us, we would just like to see those two go for it, clean race, and whoever wins wins. But it's racing, anything can happen, as has been shown today. And I mentioned there may be a little bit of controversy about that final corner on that final lap of the race. So
hang on. Yeah, I can look down in pit lane. They're fighting Mandalorian and SGP. They're slapping each other.
Oh my god, it's like watching two skinny people wearing sumo suits rolling around. For the first time ever though, and the only time, I'll tell you now, we're going to introduce a new feature. So, I am going to introduce the Dynamic GT League's Flypad. Hello and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Flypad, where we're going to be taking a look at an important moment during the race. Now, I will mention that a incident report has not been placed. However, a message has been received in the Dynamic GT League, and it reads as follows. This is not a report. However, I would like a public clarification from the stewards or admin for the broadcast regarding the incident involving himself, SGP, and Mandalorian at the last corner of the final lap, as I know people may well have different opinions. Well, the steward's view is as follows. Number one, this has not been put forward as a report. So any action seen in this that could be seen to need a penalty will not receive a penalty because this is not a report. Number 2, the main points that need clarity are: is Mandalorian within close enough distance to attempt the overtake? That's A. B. Has any wrongdoing taken place? C. Should any different or further action have taken place? And D. Are there any important factors that need bringing to everybody's attention? Okay, so let's start off with A. Is Mandalorian within fair range to attempt the overtake? Is he close enough? Well, through the magic of shitty technology, let's take a look at the incident, shall we? So, this is the final lap. SGP is ahead of Mandalorian. We're on board with Mandalorian. SGP is fully aware that Mandalorian is here. Now, SGP goes defensive into the penultimate corner and Mandalorian runs a little bit wide to allow Steve F1 to get close. Now, I've paused it at this moment at 40:59 on the timestamp for a reason, and we're going to come back to this in a little while. But I'm basically going to look at this and see if I think the Mandalorian is within a close enough distance of the car ahead at this corner to potentially attempt a fair overtake. So as this plays on in a moment, I will pause it again. And the moment that it's been paused there is just after SGP is on the brakes. Now, the reason that I have highlighted this is that SGP is over to this side, getting ready to use the normal racing line. Mandalorian is taking the alternate line, which is a tighter entry, and I will go into this in more detail in a moment. But just for this initial viewing, at around about the time of SGP applying his brakes, is Mandalorian within a close enough distance? Well, on this view, my initial feeling is, on this corner, on this track, he's close enough to warrant attention from the car ahead. So Mandalorian is potentially within a fair distance to attempt the overtake. So, in answer to A, is Mandalorian within fair range to attempt the overtake? The answer is yes, he is, and the full reason will be given in a moment. So then that would question or ask B, has any wrongdoing taken place? And again, my answer on that one is no, not really, because Mandalorian has taken, as I mentioned, the alternate line. He's in control of his car. Unfortunately, SGP has not spotted that Mandalorian has got close and gone for the normal racing line, and a little bit of contact has been made, and then there's a little bit more contact which results in SGP running wide on the exit of the corner. Do I think any wrongdoing was done here? No, not really, I don't. And I will mention as well that it isn't just myself that's been looking at this, I have had assistance. So looking at it again from an external view now, and again, looking at it, at around about the time that SGP is on the brakes, Mandalorian, at this view, is close enough for the car ahead at this corner to think that the person behind may go for the overtake. Now, it would beg the question, as this plays on in a moment, whether this is a dive bomb. The answer is no, it's not a dive bomb. It's kind of a mixture of a late move and using an alternate line. Now I'm going to pause it here because this is what I'm calling the convergence point, and that'll become more relevant in a few moments time, but I just want to bring it back a little bit. Now, with this corner, there are a couple of different ways that you can take this corner. One is the normal racing line that SGP is taking using all of the road. It's a faster line at the apex and on the exit of the corner. A little slower on the way in, much faster overall and on the way out. The alternate line is the one that Mandalorian takes, which is a tighter entry, which can be much faster on the way into the corner, but it is slower at the apex and slower on the exit. But there are some corners where there are multiple lines, and this is one of them. What these particular corners create is a convergence point where both lines merge, which is here. So what I'm going to do now is just read a little bit more in detail about item A is Mandalorian within fair range, and item B, has any wrongdoing taken place. So, in detail, when viewing incidents, stewards and admins have a general view that a car has to be within a certain range of a car ahead that would warrant that the car ahead, being aware a fair attempt at an overtake could be coming. I'm terming this as a fair range. This fair range can differ a lot from corner to corner, track to track, differing circumstances, and from person to person, their own personal view. It is not a cut and dry line in the tarmac. In this instance, at the final corner, it is one of many corners we drive on that have a few different lines of entry. Mainly the faster racing line entry using all of the road that SGP used, or the tighter faster entry but slower exit line that Mandalorian used. These create different lines of entry, apex, exits, and differing speeds on entry, apex and exit. It is up to both drivers in these types of corners to be fully aware of the differing lines and effects that they will have, as well as the inevitable convergence point that will happen where the cars will meet. Meaning that both drivers have to be in control of their cars and allow room when the meeting point is near, and on the exit of the corner, but only when the car behind was within the pre-mentioned fair range before the corner. A car seen to be too far back would more than likely feel the full force of the evil Scotsman, and none of us want that. So given the nature of this corner, the benefit of many different views that we've had, and the explanation given, I feel that Mandalorian is within the fair range. The explanation I've just given about the different lines and corners, I feel that Mandalorian is within the fair range on this corner, and that the car ahead should be aware that an attempted overtake could be coming, meaning both drivers need to give each other room. This doesn't happen though, as SGP at the time would appear to think that Mandalorian was indeed too far back to attempt the overtake. So SGP took the normal racing line and entry towards the apex, where both drivers then converge on the same piece of tarmac and a collision happens. I do not put blame on Mandalorian for the collision. He's in full control of his car and it is not a dangerous too late attempt that he has made. But I also do not put blame on SGP for the collision. However, this situation has further highlighted a circumstance that must be brought to everyone's attention, as I'm about to mention, which is item D, which is why did SGP think... So yeah, item D is, are there any important factors that need bringing to everybody's attention? This is for the admin's attention as well as the drivers. Is why did SGP think that Mandalorian was too far back to attempt the overtake? Well, having looked at a few different incidents over the championships, and again in this situation, it has become clearer that there is a big difference in what drivers might see in their virtual mirrors compared to what is actually taking place. meaning that meaning that as SGP was heading towards the corner, on his virtual mirror, it looks like Mandalorian is a long way back. So, let's take a look at that. I mentioned earlier about the timestamp of 40:59, so that was the point that I paused it. This is before the corner, before the braking point. However, looking at this and looking in the virtual mirror, both me and my co-conspirator of a steward, looking at this, both looked and had the feeling that it looks like these two cars are approximately 5 to 6 car lengths behind SGP, and that they are too far back. So, going back to my notes here quickly, so it looks like Mandalorian is at least 5 to 6 car lengths back, a distance that, yes, would be seen to be outside the fair range, meaning SGP would be within his rights to take the corner however he wants, and to be annoyed by any dive bombers. However, with the benefit of getting out of the car and walking around it like we're in the Matrix, we can see that in fact Mandalorian is much closer. So this is the distance that Mandalorian and Steve F1 actually were to SGP, and that distance is only approximately 3 car lengths. Now I have created another picture here, which is this one. Now you may notice that this car is slightly smaller than that car, and that one is slightly smaller than the both of them. Well, this car is about the same size as this car, and this car is nearly the same size as this car. So I've basically allowed for a little bit of sizing for the distance. However, we are looking at about 3 car lengths, right, on average. Bit of flat earth science going on here, but there we go. Now, the importance of this is that for the view of SGP, Mandalorian was way too far back, and any attempted overtake is a dive bomb. However, in reality, Mandalorian is within 3 car lengths, and on this corner, on this track, I feel that that is within the fair range. It is within the range of, if you're the car ahead, you should be aware that the person behind may attempt the overtake given the nature of this corner. So it's a massive difference, that couple of car lengths perspective, as to what the driver in front believes has happened. So as I mentioned, the distance is only approximately 3 car lengths back, which changes things a lot, because at this corner, as I mentioned, I feel it now puts him within the annoying as hell but fair range distance at this corner. So any frustration or gripe that SGP might have or had to a degree is understandable, given the view available to him during the race, and the initial feeling that Mandalorian was too far back to go for the move, and the thought that Mandalorian should have given the position back, when in fact Mandalorian was much closer than he appeared to be, a bit like Jeff Goldblum being chased by the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. Now, I have also provided another image which I'm going to show, which is, this is just about at the point of first contact and not the movie, but again, it's to show the virtual mirror. Now, in the virtual mirror, we can clearly see Mandalorian here with his dodgy helmet, and it looks like Mandalorian is right behind SGP. But in actual fact, he's up alongside a little bit. Now, this may not seem like much, but this is enough to show, okay, there's quite a bit of a difference of perspective of what is being seen in the mirror. So the virtual mirror, we now know that the front of Mandalorian's car is actually alongside the rear of SGP's car, then the actual view of what's in the mirror is a little skew-iffy, shall we say. It would mean that the mirror here is technically positioned quite far forward on the car, and it does create a perspective that things are further back, as shown here. And we have come across this a lot, that it is looking like a car is coming from way too back and going for a dive bomb, when in actual fact they are much closer than it appears. Now, I do want to clarify that these are definitely very situation dependent, corner dependent. It doesn't mean every corner you can chuck it up the inside. That's not the case. For clarity on this particular incident, what I would say is this is one of those corners where there are two different ways you can enter the corner. One is clearly seen to be faster, the other one is clearly an overtaking attempt. And it doesn't count for every corner, but this is one of those corners where if a car is within a fair range, then you have to be aware that they could go up the inside. And this is one of those situations where, in SGP's view, Mandalorian was too far back. However, in investigating it and looking at it, Mandalorian was much closer. Now, I will emphasise that had this view shown, for example, that Mandalorian was 5 car lengths back, was as far back as this appears to show, he would definitely have been outside of the fair range and would be fully worthy of any penalty given to him. However, in this instance, he was much closer. So, as a final clarification then, was Mandalorian within fair range to attempt the overtake? Yes, he was. Has any wrongdoing taken place? No, not really. Should any different or further action have taken place? Maybe. Both drivers being a little more aware, SGP on entry, Mandalorian on exit, so a little more aware, giving room overall. I do not feel any return of positions were required in that situation. And finally, are there any important factors that need bringing to the admin's attention, but also the driver's attention? And that is yes. What you see in your mirror may not exactly be what is happening. And I know I have discussed this with a number of people. But as a steward, and as the stewards do, we have as I mentioned, a sort of rule of thumb of what is a fair range, and if it's outside that, there's chances of penalties. If it's within that, then chances are not. There won't be penalties. But it is very much situation dependent. So in this instance, there would be no penalties given, and I would like to just clarify as well, it would make no difference making an argument of well, it's the last lap, I've got to give it a try. That is not a valid argument. The last lap is the same as any other lap when it comes to what you attempt on the track. Okay, there we go.
Well, hopefully that cleared up any queries anybody may have had about that particular incident. Okay then, the confirmed race result for race 8 here at Fuji sees Mandalorian take the victory and the maximum 20 points, just ahead of Steve F1, who was just ahead of SGP. Conrad took 4th place, a best result for him for quite some time. Mitch finished in 5th ahead of Dave the Harp, who was ahead of Demon R. I was just so shocked that he was that far down the points. However, Rich Blues gets that 8th place, the personal best position for him, matched once again, and he was ever so close. He just pipped Fluffy Planet right before the line. 10th place was Formula Gary. He finished just ahead of Jimmy, who was a little bit ahead of Twilight, SRI and Groover. Obviously there were a few collisions throughout that race, however no reports were put in. I do know that on most occasions drivers who caused incidents did wait for their victims, as they have been asked to do. Obviously we'd prefer to see no incidents at all, or would we? We do like to see a crash. Obviously never anything on purpose, but the less crashes the better the racing. The more crashes, the more entertaining the videos are to watch. Okay, time to take a look at what that race result has done to the championship standings, with only one race to go, which is going to be from the Dragon Trail Seaside. So, Steve F1, I believe, is, yep, he is. He's going to still be leading the championship standings on 141 points. He's now 5 ahead of DGT League SGP. But the battle is still on. What it means though is that if SGP wins, he needs Steve F1 to finish lower than 3rd. If they are joint on points, they could also be joint on victories if SGP takes the win. So there are many different permutations. In 3rd place we've got Demon R. He is pretty much out of the championship fight now, unless the two above him just give up, and that's never going to happen. Mandalorian has managed to sneak ahead of Fluffy Planet, but also join Mitch on 72 points, and he does go ahead of Mitch because he has got a victory. In 6th place is Fluffy Planet, and he's 6 points ahead of Dave the Harp in 7th, who is just ahead of Twilight in 8th, who is also just ahead of Jason in 9th. And then, remarkably, we have Jimmy and Rich Blues joint 10th on 40 points, and they are both 10 points ahead of Bunsell, Groover and Formula Gary, who are all joint 12th on 30 points. DGT League SRI only 2 points behind them, so it's ever so close for that 12th place at the moment. Conrad has managed to get himself off the bottom of the order now with that result for him, so he's up to 16th now on 19 points, while Tyler, he was unfortunate with this race. He arrived for qualifying just a moment or two too late and was not able to then get onto the track, so he did miss out. So Tyler is now 17th on 15 points. But what a race we have had here today at Fuji. This place always creates some kind of controversy. It always seems to be around Mandalorian as well, I'm sure. But what we do now have is one epic title decider coming from the Dragon Trail Gardens. Let's see who's got their feet planted firmly into the ground, and let's see who is going to flower like a beautiful rose that just gets chopped down to try and show someone that you like them. Anyway, I've been Dave. Thanks for joining us here, and make sure you check out the next video to see who becomes the Dynamic GT League's Mazda Touring Cup champion. One thing for certain, it ain't gonna be Demon R, which was gonna make everybody happy. We're gonna have a new champion. Come and join us for that. See you again soon.